Now in this lecture we address the next two verses of the Holy Quran, the verse 11 and the verse 12 of Surah Al Baqarah. And in these verses are again an elucidation and construing of the attributes of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the 11th verse of Surah Al Baqarah, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. And when it is said to them, do not cause corruption on the earth, they say, we are but peacemakers. We are but peacemakers. So when Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is stating in this verse, then that an attribute of these people are the munafiqoon, the hypocrites are that when we tell them, when it is told to them and when it is asked of them by someone that, O person, do not spread corruption on the earth, they say that we are but the peacemakers, we are but from amongst the peacemakers. So that is what Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is stating. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. And when it is said to them, do not cause corruption on the earth, they say, we are but peacemakers. And then in the subsequently, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the next verse, in the 12th verse of Surah Al Baqarah, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Beware, they are the makers of corruption, but they perceive not. Beware, they are the makers of corruption, but they perceive not. So now what was the corruption of these munafiqeen, these hypocrites? We have been discussing this from the past few lectures, that the corruption was that these munafiqoon, these hypocrites, they used to sit amongst the blessed companions of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. They used to sit in the company of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, while in disguise. On the outward they would wear the clothes of Islam and they would showcase themselves as Muslims, but it was in the inward and in the hearts that there was a disease. It was in the inward that from the bottom of their hearts they never accepted the religion Islam, although they reflected and showcased from their outward appearances that they were Muslims, but their inward appearance was the opposite. They had never accepted the message of Islam, they had never accepted the religion Islam, so they were the hypocrites. And this was the corruption of these people, that they used to sit amongst the companions of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and they used to sit with the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, listen to the secret plans of the blessed companions, and then they used to go and knock on the doors of the enemies of Islam, and then when knocking on the door of the enemies of Islam, they used to narrate and tell to the enemies of Islam and report to them all the secret plans and strategies of the Muslims that were being made in the blessed court and in the blessed presence of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. So they were not of the ones who had believed, but from the inside they were the disbelievers. Their outward appearance reflected themselves as Muslims, but it was their inward appearance which was the opposite. They had never accepted Islam from deep within their hearts, so they would convey the secret plans of Muslims to the enemies of Islam. Then there was another corruption, another act of corruption of these hypocrites, that they would disobey Allah. They would disobey Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and they would make a mockery of Islam, and they would joke upon the blessed Sharia of the Honorable Messenger, peace be upon him. So as was elucidated in the previous verses, in their hearts was a disease, and Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala increased this disease in their hearts. So they were jealous of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. The blessed, strong foundations of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, laid the strong, blessed foundations in Medina al-Munawwara, and the state of Jews was weakening day by day, and they could see it leaving. They could see their authority, their power, their control, their dominance leaving and going into the hands of the noble messenger, peace be upon him. He, the holy prophet, peace be upon him, was laying the foundations of a blessed state, of a blessed nation at those times. So therefore, such hypocrites, such enemies of Islam, they observed and made plans to have such an ill tactic that in disguise they would sit amongst the companions of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and they would learn about the secret plans and strategies and then act accordingly by knocking on the doors of the enemies of Islam and reporting to them. So this was the corruption in them. So this was how they were engaged in corruption, and this has been confirmed by the Holy Quran, the glorious book and the majestic book of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the Holy Quran at another instance, أَفَمَنْ زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ فَرَآهُ حَسَنًا. And what of him? What of him whose evil action has been made attractive to him, but he starts to consider it good? So the hypocrites would say that they were far apart from corruption and they never spread corruption and they were never engaged in the spread of corruption, and their reason was, their argument was of the munafiqoon, the hypocrites, their argument was that we are but merely following the practices and the religion of our forefathers. We are on their religion, who attained knowledge from the previous prophets, who attained knowledge from the previous prophets. May Allah be pleased upon those prophets as well, pleased with those prophets. So they used to say that we are merely on the religion of our forefathers who attained knowledge from the previous prophets, as there were thousands of prophets in Bani Israel. So when they said that we do not spread corruption, but we strive for correction, to correct people, to bring them towards the right path, to tell them that God forbid Islam is not the right path, na'uz billah. So this is what the Holy Quran says, أَفَمَنْ زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ فَرَآهُ حَسَنًا. And what of him whose evil action has been made attractive to him, but he starts to consider it good? So when they said that we do not spread corruption, but we strive for correction, to correct people, then Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala stated in the Holy Quran in this verse, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ. Beware, beware, they are the makers of corruption. Beware, they are the makers of corruption. Therefore, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala states in the Holy Quran in the 11th and 12th verse accordingly, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. And when it is said to them, do not cause corruption on the earth, they say, we are but peacemakers. Then Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala subsequently in the 12th verse of Surah Al Baqarah says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Beware, they are the makers of corruption, but they perceive not. To access the same lecture in Urdu, please click on the link available below in the description.